Hey, everybody. Man, I got to tell you, we have got an exciting show for you today. Keith and I met this next guest at the SEMA show, and we wanted to share his story with our audience, and hopefully as many people as you want to. I encourage you to listen to the podcast and go look him up after you've watched this podcast and go read the story. So we're excited about the upcoming guest. What do you think, Keith?
Yeah, so we're going to bring in Allyn Pierce here in just a minute. He is, so let me just kind of tell everyone quickly what you don't learn in the podcast or the interview. He is a triage nurse, and he gets into a little bit of that story that was involved in the largest wildfire in California history with his Toyota truck, and drove the truck into a bad situation to help some folks out. Didn't think he was going to make it out, and he did, and the truck did, and it's a pretty amazing story. And so I think above everything else, I love these kinds of stories. It's certainly something I would much rather read about than kind of some of the negative stuff that we hear all the time. He's a hero. He's a pretty good dude, but more importantly, he's just a really cool hang.
Yeah.
And I think we both picked up on that and wish we had more time to hang. And that may happen, but we got to start somewhere, and so we decided to just start with a conversation on the podcast.
Yeah,
so,
and it's a good one. So hold on to your seats, or as some people in my family would say, hold on to your wigs and your keys, and get ready for a great story.
All right, without further ado, here it is.
Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the podcast, man. I am excited today. We've got us a special guest on hand. We met him at the SEMA show in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. Keith, what do you think about this, man?
All right,
Talk to
me. I have to tell this, Allyn. I've got to introduce you by telling everybody a story. So Jay and I were at SEMA.
Where did the story take place?
It was right. It was
it
was
like
Yeah, what happens in Vegas. All right, but I'll keep it G-rated. So
some splaining to do.
So Jay and I were having a conversation with a couple of the models at a booth, and I'm always looking for a story, right? And I was like, hey,
hey, model.
Yeah, hey, Mockley.
Yeah.
What's this like?
How did you get into this?
How do you get into this? What's it like doing these? How often do you do these? And I go, hey, can I take a picture for, just in case we use this bit? And I'm taking this picture, and I don't know why these girls, a lot of times they'll come together and they'll stand like shoulder to shoulder, and they didn't. And for whatever reason, and I'm glad they didn't, and there's this guy right in the middle of my shot, just totally photobombing. And that was that. So now I'm like, okay, I got to meet this guy. So Jay and I wandered over. We saw the truck, but we didn't know the story. And this is a pretty cool story, and you're probably tired of telling it. Can you give us just a little?
Not necessarily tired of telling it. It's just it's a pretty intense story. But yeah.
So give us the go as light on yourself as you can on this one.
Actually, it's a little over a year now.
Okay.
November 8th, 2018. I worked at Feather River Hospital. I ran the ICU up there.
Okay.
I'm an ICU nurse, but at that point I'd been running the unit for about 4 years. So that's intensive care, patients that are requiring machines to breathe for them, and we're helping people with the kind of the core level things to, like breathing and blood pressure and everything, and the stuff that your body normally does by itself.
Right.
There was a fire that took out our whole town. In the process of that, in the very beginning, that we evacuated our whole hospital and the staff. Some of the people got stuck behind because we were making sure everyone was out of the hospital, and ended up getting trapped in the fire, and then heading back to the hospital. And we actually broke back into the hospital and
literally like had to break back in.
Oh, broke back in, like broke the doors open and
Wow.
got equipment out of the hospital to get a triage going for the people that just were showing up back at the hospital. That's actually that. Once we got the equipment, it was just kind of business as usual for an emergency. We've done training about that, so it's triage. You're treating people by priority, and we were doing that, and then the hospital caught on fire, and so we had to move away from the entrance to the ER out to the helipad, which is connected to our parking lot. So we were out in the middle of this like circle in the middle of everything burning.
Wow.
It's a pretty wild image, and one of the firemen was like, "You look like you were in the middle of hell."
Wow. And at this point, when you're standing in the middle of all this fire, I mean, what does it feel like to you? I mean, are you feeling the heat from the flames at that point as well, or?
It was better than when I was trapped in the truck, literally like with the fire like directly on me.
Right.
Directly on the truck, I mean. So yeah.
So
so it was in that first attempt at evacuation that damage happened to that truck.
So I've got a picture of it up. We'll put some of this on screen, like during the post, as they say. But you were in your Toyota Tundra, and that sucker got pretty burnt, and you went back in.
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
It got burnt. Yeah, depending on how late in the game that you got in on the internet, I was about to sprout wings and fly people up and down the hill. A lot of people focus. It's weird because the truck brings the focus to like the actually getting trapped in the fire. That's not the part I was necessarily proud about. The part I was proud about is when getting all the patients out of the hospital within the hour. We had an entire, we had almost about 70 patients in the hospital. We got them all out and headed down the hill, or eventually down the hill to safety.
Wow.
But also after, it left a bunch of mostly leaders left in the hospital because we were getting our staff out after we got the patients out. So a lot of us got trapped, especially the patient care leaders. So when we came back up, after having to abort that first escape when everything got burned, it was a lot of us leaders. And then, we had enough to do a lot if we needed to. We had a surgeon, we had an ER doc, we had an anesthesiologist, we had, it was pretty good. We had a good team up there. I think there was even a pediatrician.
You guys are the guys I want to take in my camping group. Like just that. Yeah, I could literally go do whatever, and I'm just fine to
Yeah, it was for the moments they were there, it was a good zombie apocalypse.
Yep, that's it. Right, there you go.
We had all the parts we needed for that.
So
day.
You at some point,
for long term, I'd want mechanics and agriculture. And
right, okay. I read at some point that you didn't think you were going to make it out. Is that true?
Yeah, that was in that initial escape attempt. I don't know if you guys saw I don't know how much you've seen, but. Of the Instagram feed or anything, but yeah, the fire was pressed right up against the truck at times, and at one point when I was trapped against the fire, next to the fire truck next to me, they actually covered their windows with their mirrored blankets, and I was like, I literally said that, I'm like, that's not a good sign.
No, not at all. I did read.
My truck escaped out to the fire truck, and then I was by myself, but I wasn't going to leave the truck, and people asked me why, but it's because I was taking up an entire lane, and if I got out of my truck, I would be trapping everyone behind me.
Right. So you're just always forward thinking, trying to, look for that way out. It's almost like a motorcycle rider, in my opinion. You're always looking for the route out, man.
I'm a motorcycle rider as well, but everything is like micro decisions. It's not like, oh, how did you do this? It's like, how did I do this one moment, and how did I do this next moment?
So
it's chiseling away at that wall to get out of there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Man, I got so many questions about. I'm just gonna. Some of these are gonna be pretty simple, but so this is
tire.
What what year was your Toyota Tundra?
My truck was a 2017 Toyota Tundra TRD, not Pro, TRD off-road Crew Max. So the Ford big.
We saw it at the show, and it's burnt on. It's brown. I mean, all the way down. The mirrors are melted. The front lights and back lights are melted. That in itself, just seeing that's pretty scary. Just to look at the truck.
Did you see that? Even the grill is like rippled from the heat.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I mean, I looked at the tire. Now, did the tires sustain themselves through this process, or were you at some point riding on your rims?
They did, and a lot of people ask, like, "Oh, how'd the tires not pop and everything?" But the thing is, and I tried to explain it to someone online who is I don't know.
Yeah.
the one out of 1,000 that like is like questioning like why how things happen in the world.
Right.
Like,
right.
From their
looking for the science behind it.
So
we call those the flat earthers, but yeah, go ahead.
I said, wait, you know, when you're driving, and this is all based off old information because I didn't know tires could explode until like several years ago when these high school kids flipped their car out in front of our house that they were making a turn and they flipped the car, you know, because they took it too fast and the car caught on fire and we woke up to explosions and it wasn't gas. It wasn't the gas. It wasn't anything. It was the tires exploding from the car. Yeah. And so when I'm in this fire, I'm like, oh, the tires are my weakest link. Mm-hmm. And whenever I had to drive over fire or past it, I would wait and let the traffic ahead creep ahead, and then I'd drive, you know, gradually over it, and then I'd make sure I had a landing spot that didn't have fire next to or I wasn't on top of the tires. Right. I mean, on top of the fire. So I was trying to explain to him, like, think of passing your hand through the flames, like if you're camping, versus holding it there.
Right. Okay.
So it was just strategic driving. That's why the tires failed.
So
that's
and you know they were good tires.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're a loyal behind the brand.
I am loyal behind the brand. I am working with a new brand because of my new brand partnerships with Rockstar. Yeah. But sure. I mean, I've had those tires on every car, every truck. I have an FJ60 for my very first truck.
Oh man, I just found my. Okay, all right. Wow, this is gonna go. Okay, so I'm gonna talk for a second just to give you a chance to catch your breath and take a sip. But the Rockstar Garage. We've seen the videos, and we'll probably put a link to them in the podcast just so the guys can watch the recreation of the new trucks. But is that the same Rockstar company that does like the energy drinks?
Yeah, they're partnered with Rockstar Garage is partnered with Rockstar Energy Drinks. So yeah, that's why we have the gear and everything.
There it is. Yeah. Okay, so I've had several, but my current Toyota FJ Cruiser is the last year they made them. It's the Ultimate Edition. It's the Trail Teams rated and all that. I mean, I know you're busy with a lot of things right now, including a lot of like you've turned into a celebrity. But do you do any overland camping? Do you go outdoors and do anything in your truck?
We do some camping, and this year because we weren't able to do nearly as much as we would normally do because when the hospital burned down, I actually lost my job. Like eventually I lost my job, and not by any fault of theirs. The company took really good care of us and actually paid us for 3 months past the fire.
Oh man.
And I'm talking benefits and everything. So it let everyone's head clear up enough to get new jobs and settle into their jobs. So no complaints there with them. But I also lost my PTOs. I lost my paid time off. So I had hundreds of hours of paid time off because I've been a manager and I should have been taking more vacations. But I would use them to do camping trips and everything else. And so I wasn't able to do that much this year. So I had to like save up a lot of hours just to do several events this year, SEMA being one of them. So I was going to ask all my hours when you guys were paying me. I was paying myself to be there.
Hey.
Wow. See, I was going to ask you if that was that your first SEMA?
Yeah, that was my first SEMA. So I was like, why don't I bring 2 trucks?
Okay, so now
So
there
there's
you
a
go.
question.
So you've got different versions of this truck, right? Okay, so let me ask that a different way. So here's what steer me straight, Allyn. So we saw videos of the new truck with they called it the fake burn, where they did the same kind of color matching and they flew the guy in to do that. But then the Pandra truck that you had at SEMA, I didn't see any burn on that one.
That was made, that wasn't the original plan, and I think they were trying to rush it to surprise me with the new build.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that. Toyota USA put out a Instagram story that kind of covered that. And
I did.
The thing is, driving around in Butte County with a burnt-looking vehicle, when there's literally people in town that have actual burnt vehicles still, because maybe they didn't have the good insurance I'd had or the opportunities that other people had, and still melted taillights. Like, that's a real thing for people out here.
So
to go around with a fake one, like, and then on top of that, my wife, when this is like more on the emotional tone, like when I'd been gone and disappeared for 6 hours while she watched the news as like the entire world burned. They escaped early, but I disappeared off the face of the earth for a good, 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
And so when I pulled up, that was the first thing she saw, because I wasn't thinking when I pulled up that they were going to see this burnt truck. I was thinking, like, I can't wait to see my family.
Sure.
And I should have left the truck farther away and walked in. But instead they did that, and they were walking out of the house, my in-laws' house, and then all of a sudden they started running, and I was like, oh, because they're looking at the truck. And I'm like, I came out, I'm like, look, I'm fine.
Right.
Like, no burns.
Right. Wow, man.
So
that's
it wasn't the right move. It wasn't the right move to keep it looking like that. Although
that makes complete sense.
Although Bullet Liner, I have to say, Bullet Liner did an amazing job of like recreating that, and like with a bed liner.
Yeah, so we didn't know. We were rubbing our hands on it going, wow, they're putting bed line, like, so for everybody watching this and listening to this, he had bed liner coating sprayed on the outside paint surface of the truck to give it kind of a gnarly, aggressive.
Well, the entire truck is bed liner coating.
Yeah, the whole thing.
But the sides in particular were made to look like the old, the OG Pandra, as they call it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, so
that's something.
I
want to ask you a question here. You know, that's the one thing, and I didn't find anywhere where you came up with the name Pandra, and I'm only assuming because the front of the rig, when you look at it, is because it looks like a Panda and it's a Tundra, and is that it? Okay, so
that is kind of like my take on the Stormtrooper, because
I got you.
So, but I was like, oh, I like Pandas more than Storm. I love Stormtroopers. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love Star Wars. Not.
You're in good company. You're in good company. There you go.
Yeah. We're all big fans. But that's what I thought.
Tundra.
Yeah, so it's a Pandra. Yeah, gotcha. Panda Tundra, and that makes complete sense, and that's what I put 2 and 2 together. That must be what it is.
Burn the work that they did still shows through. If you look back at your pictures of the new truck and see the Pandra going across the side of it, you can still see the burn under there. That's actually still the one that they painted. So there's an ombre as it goes across.
Got it.
That answers the question,
I'm
Keith.
looking at it right now.
It's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there. I wanted a more stylized take on it.
What is the new one?
It looks great.
So it's taller. It's a Tundra, but what is it?
It's a 29. So Toyota gave me a choice when they first. Let me say that Toyota did not make me give them the old truck. Like I chose to let Toyota take it because I'm a huge Toyota fan, and I knew it had become an iconic truck in the Toyota world.
Oh, for sure.
And so Toyota taking it means they're going to keep it in their warehouse, and they transported it like covered like a truck, like semi, everywhere it goes. And they have certain rules about you saw how it was like roped off so people couldn't touch it, and so it just became this iconic truck, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it is.
That they did that. And so they're like, you don't have to, but we would like to take it. I'm like, have it. At that point, I didn't even have a garage.
Can I come visit every month or so? Right.
Well, they tend to fly me places where it's at. Like they flew me to the dealer meeting in August, and I didn't know it was going to be there. And I come around the corner backstage, and I was like, whoa, you guys didn't tell me it was going to be here.
Right.
And that was pretty amazing too, because Toyota started their whole dealer meeting with me, and they brought the truck out too after playing this video, and everyone's like, all these kind of grown men are all teared up, and they bring me out, and as they're bringing me out, the truck's driving in behind me, like, so it's like back behind me and the executive I was talking to, and then they donated another $100,000 to California fire victims.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
What an amazing story, man. This has been intriguing to me, since the day we met you at SEMA. That what an event to have to go through. When I was reading about what you were going through in the truck driving out of there, and at one point you held your jacket up against the window.
Yeah, I was holding
to keep and I mean, I can't imagine how hot it must have been even just inside the truck. I'm assuming you were running the AC, trying to.
I was ready. Yeah. I had it on recirculate because that helps when you're in the
absolutely.
Middle of the
But then,
but I had the air conditioning full blast. I had the actual inside of the car was not that uncomfortable. It was the windows were searing hot.
Oh,
like I had friends that like she jumped out of my truck into the fire truck, and she had to hold the Mylar, whatever those blankets that they put up against the windows, and her back of her arms got burnt.
Wow. I mean, that's just amazing.
She wasn't even on the fire side. The fire was on my side, and then across the truck, and she was holding the blanket up here, like on the other side of my truck.
So roughly,
the air was searing
roughly
hot.
240 square miles, if I'm reading this right, destroyed over almost 19,000 structures. Most of the damage coming within the first 4 hours. Is this the worst fire in Northern California history?
In all of California history.
Yeah, I think I'd read that. Yeah, and unfortunately, 85 lives were lost during that whole situation. So,
and that's close to my friends and loved ones.
Yeah, that's what an event. I mean, we got smoke from it up here. We were smoked out. That's how bad it was. And
the Bay Area that's hundreds of miles away was like shutting down schools and
that's right.
business.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. One of the other things that stuck out to me, and Keith and I are both, I mean, we're music lovers, man. We're big music fans. Keith has a background in music theory, and he's a trained musician. But Peter Gabriel, man, I mean, one of my favorite artists of all time, really. I mean, way back in the Genesis days, but In Your Eyes, man. I mean, was that a specific choice of yours, or?
No, I don't. Like, I remember when what is it? Writer was asking me, so did you have a playlist for this? I'm like, are you asking me if I had a
playlist? What?
No. I was like, she didn't want to say it, but she said, she was asking that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. The deal is that I was looking for the two people in the car. I don't say who they are because they were really kind of losing their, minds for good reason. Because if you look outside, it was terrifying. I've told people I'm good at looking calm when things are going like sideways.
Right.
Because as a nurse, as an ICU nurse, and you could be running a code on someone's loved one, and you can't be losing your business, I guess I'll say.
Yeah. Right.
While it's happening, you have to be calm. You have to look like everything's under control, because it may be at some point.
It's you taking charge, not only in your business life, your profession, but also in your personal life at that time. I mean, I know it is, and that's, somebody has to be a leader. Somebody has to take charge.
Well, and that's what, my dad was an officer. I was a merchant marine engineering officer.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
So leadership and being, getting your people to safety and keeping the people around you calm enough to get things done it's kind of, it was bred in me, like kicking and screaming, but it worked.
Yeah.
Well, and so, go ahead, sorry.
So just to answer your music question, I have certain, there's a lot of dead zones in our little town, and and I knew that gully was one of them, and so I queued up. I have the Deadpool 2 soundtrack downloaded in my Spotify, and I knew that had some calm songs. Although the first song's "Ashes" by Celine Dion, skip past that. And then there's an electronic, like rad song, but it's not what I was looking for. I was looking for something calm and something that sing along, and it has like a lot of good songs like that. And Peter Gabriel, "In Your Eyes" is one of them. Although I have to say, play that for yourself with the thought that you may be dying in a fire. It has a totally different tone.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah.
So
that's why I wanted to get the story behind that. Yeah.
When I was in SEMA, the last day of SEMA was also the campfire 1 year anniversary, and my friend that was in the car, she wrote me and she's like, "You kind of ruined Peter Gabriel for me," and I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of ruined that for both of us."
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. So it was right at the 1 year time of the event. Wow. I didn't. Yeah.
The last day was 1 year.
So, and look, and I know, and we have not had much time to hang, if at all. We talked for just a few minutes at SEMA, and you've got a busy career going on, and you've got and this is great for you that you've got some cool things to go out and kind of have fun doing with Toyota and some of your sponsors. Jay and I kind of talked about this, and we said, look, man, we can tell he's kind of humble, and we want to get him to talk about this a little bit, but I think
it's just hard to be humble when you're so amazing.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, yeah. But man, kids,
absolutely, man,
absolutely.
I'm on board. I'm a big
these
fan.
These are the kids. The kids need to hear these kinds of stories. Like they're, we turn the news on every day, and there's people yelling at each other on social media and politically, and everybody's getting in fights. And this is the kind of stuff like I want my kid to see, on in print or in the news, and. Just if for no other reason than do your best and contribute, and stop thinking of yourself as just be you, man. Just do you.
Well, I see what you're saying. Like one of the cool things that happened after the fires was, we have a very once you get into Northern California, it gets very red state, but we're also a college town.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of right and left in our thing. But when that fire happened, there was no right and left.
I'm pretty sure you weren't taking a survey, right? Middle. To see, no, wait a second, I need you to fill this form out before I can perform any procedures. Yeah, right? No.
Yeah. It all came back to the middle, and everyone was just helping everyone. It was amazing. There was no one in Chico even not affected by it, because if they weren't personally like losing something, they were putting someone up at their house, or their trailer was in their yard for 6 months, or something. Everyone was helping everyone.
Yeah, and it always seems to happen. The worst brings out the best in people, and again, it's unfortunate that it takes those kinds of things to kind of make people step back for a second and think about those things. But man, thank goodness there's people like yourself, and I've never been down in that area, so I just kind of envisioned that everybody down there is just like you, because I've read a lot of articles about the town and how everybody's worked together, and the information I got is you're still relatively a small town, around what, say 25,000, 28,000 people.
It was 25,000. Only 10% of the houses made it, so we're probably talking more like 100.
Well, now, yeah.
There's not a lot of people living there anymore.
But at the time of the fire, yeah. So
the fire, 25,000 probably.
Yeah, that's pretty small. And now, do you see any rebuilding going on already, or any?
Depending on who you talk to, anywhere between 9 to 14 houses have been built, and you know how many were burned. Right. So
absolutely, like you said,
there's
incredible.
There's hazmat issues. The fire burned so hot it leached benzene into the water lines from the plastic underground.
Wow.
Just all that, everything, all these houses burning into the ground. Like, there's a lot of hazmat issues. So there's a lot of cleanup going on. There's a lot of dump trucks going up and down the hill.
Wow.
It's a work site. The entire town is a work site.
So it basically put paradise on the map and took it away at the same time. That's pretty crazy. I mean, if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
I didn't even know paradise existed until I started dating my wife.
Wow.
Wow.
So, man, this is every bit movie material. Like I could see this turning into. You just got to get him to do it soon, so that you can do like a cameo where you meet yourself in the who would you have play you in the movie? There's your question.
Well, I was like, of course everyone goes for the Dave Grohl. I like to think of myself as like a better looking Dave Grohl or a much less good looking Keanu Reeves.
Ooh,
Just pick somewhere around that.
Has Dave by chance gotten a hold of the story? Have you had any encounters with him?
I have no idea. I would love to, because I've been a Nirvana fan and a Foo Fighters fan forever. So
there you go.
I actually caught him last year here, and Chris Novacek came out on stage with him here in Seattle, and it was his band actually opened up for them, and then Chris came out on stage, and they performed a Nirvana song that they hadn't performed since Nirvana.
Allyn, tell me,
cool
you're a fan. You've seen the Netflix documentary, right? On the Foo Fighters?
Which one? I have not seen the Netflix documentary.
Jay, I turned you on to this. It's called...
well, there's a couple. Sound City is one. There's Back and Forth.
Sound City is on like HBO or Showtime.
Yeah, it's Back and Forth.
Yeah, I think it's Back and Forth.
Go check it out.
Which
it's
is pretty
really
cool.
great.
I'll check it out.
It starts...
Yeah.
Well, it really starts at the end of Nirvana, right? I mean, Jay?
Yeah, they're running around Seattle in a van.
It's pretty good.
And just
okay.
trying to get it together.
Check it out. I mean, I listen to them more than I do anything, but yeah.
I'm gonna lighten the mood here a little bit. So so I gotta qualify this.
Okay.
Roughly, how old are you, Allyn? Like in your 30s?
Roughly exactly. I'm 43.
Okay, he's in our okay. So this is an important question that I ask in every relationship. This is one of the questions that
I am premenopausal.
Okay. I asked my wife this before we started. I think when we started dating, I asked Jay this like I don't know, a while back.
Years ago.
All right.
Years ago.
Sammy Hagar or David Lee Roth?
Oh, I just wanted to be like it's Van Halen, not Van Hagar is my answer.
So I'm gonna take that as a David Lee Roth fan.
He's on your side. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Settled, Keith.
Oh wow!
We're gonna have a tally board up here on the interviews. We're gonna start just writing them down.
You'll just have tally marks. You have put one on your wall and one on your wall.
Let's do it, Jay.
Right. Yeah. So go back and check out. We have a video on our YouTube channel, and it's a podcast that we did about Sam and Dave. It's the whole podcast. We're automotive and technology guys, and we're industry guys. Mm-hmm. But we also love beer and great music, and so we like to incorporate all of these things within our podcast. And we had been having this argument, so we decided, you know what? We're going to dedicate it. It's going to be the Sam and Dave show, and we're going to get through this. So go check it out. It's actually a pretty fun one to watch.
The Sam and Dave show?
It was just called what was it? Episode 25?
It's on this one.
It's on it'll be we'll send you a link to this one, and it'll be in the same feed. It's called Sam or Dave, something like that. So go, Jay.
Well, I was going to go with I wanted to talk a little bit more about the truck because I don't want to take too much of your time, but
go for it.
All right. So I went through the list of some of your, sponsors and stuff like, R1 Concepts on the brakes, Odyssey batteries, Mishimoto radiators. And I'm just assuming that, all of these guys now they give you this, they're sponsoring you and they're building this truck. So these are items used on the vehicle. And it's fascinating to me because it's like everything is built for the most harshest environment that you could ever be in. So this just has to be one badass truck, man. I mean,
it is. It's a lot of truck. It's a lot.
I'm looking at the list of all of the things that went into this. So how much did you have an input of all these things being put onto this thing?
So Rockstar Garage, I think it was around. We escaped the fire out to like North Lake Tahoe just to get out of the smoke. Someone gave us like a week at a house up, a cabin up there. And so when I was up there, Rockstar hit me up after we kind of decided to partner. I decided to partner with them, and they're like, "Send me a list." I'm like, of what? And it was like everything you want on this truck. And I'm like, what? Yeah, and you have to realize so many companies reached out like to me online. And I'm like, I don't even have a place to store this stuff.
Right.
I have no garage. Like I have nothing to like. I won't even have a truck to put it in the back of.
Right.
And they graciously were offering these things, but I was like, I partnered with Rockstar because they would manage the build. Like as a manager myself and a leader, when you're doing that, you find someone that does it better than you, and you have them do it.
Gee, this sounds familiar, doesn't it, Jay?
Yeah, well, sure it does. And I'm assuming now, did they do this all in one fell swoop, or was it just like, hey, come back and we're gonna upgrade you this radiator? Or
so I had the truck for a while, and then I gave him this list. It was like 2.5 pages long. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write a list.
Yeah.
Who wants a list? And I did it, and there are certain compromises I have to make within the partners, but I even hesitate to call them compromises because they're badass. Like the partners are amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, I said, I'm going down that list and I'm just drooling looking at what's going on this thing,
Yeah. And so like, there's certain visual things I wanted. Like I needed the black wheels and black tires, and then the white bed cage, because my brother-in-law and nephew and I welded together that original cage from an all pro kit. And so I needed a certain look in my head for what the truck was going to look like when you blurred your eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
And
well, the one thing I want to say, and I apologize for breaking in, but what people need to know who are listening to this, and I did go back and I checked your Instagram feed, and this is not something that just came out of the air. I mean, you are into off-roading. This is what you love to do, and you were doing this to your own Tundra before this ever happened.
Yeah.
So you were all modded up even before this.
Yeah, my Instagram was all like, I kind of treated it as if I was already not necessarily sponsored, but that I was like, supporting these companies that I chose.
Yeah.
Right.
And and my truck is not just about off-roading. It's sometimes it's about getting me to the place I need to do hiking or backpacking or mountain biking or paddleboarding. It's also my avenue to adventure. Like it.
Well, at some point during that whole process, because of your professional career, are you thinking too, man, I need to have a vehicle that if something does happen in the back of your mind, I need a rig that I can just do something with it. Are you thinking about that too?
That was part of the idea when I did it. I mean, I always travel with a trauma kit. Even on my motorcycle, I'll move it over to my motorcycle when we're on trips.
Yeah.
I always try to be ready. I mean, like even right now I always have this knife on.
So
nice.
It's got a seatbelt cutter. It's got a window breaker, and I've actually used it to pull someone out of a car on one New Year's night.
What's the brand on that?
This is a CRKT.
Yeah, Colorado River Knife and Tool.
Yeah. M16 14er.
So
I don't know.
Jay, these guys, I had roommates.
That's awesome.
One of them was medevac airlift, and the other one was paramedic. I lived with these guys, and every one of them, just like Allyn, you could literally reach in their pockets, and there was survival gear, there were seatbelt cutters.
Oh no, I have a flashlight.
Yeah,
on me.
These are the guys you want with you. So what kind of bike you got?
Motorcycle. I have an Africa Twin. That's my replacement bike, but it's an Africa Twin Adventure Sport.
That's a Honda.
It's a Honda. And I went an interesting route because I went with the double clutch transmission, so it's an automatic.
You take it off? Do you take it on trails?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, we just found something else to.
Bike that I set up.
So when you do get some time off, when you build up your PTO again, we've got to go hang somewhere because I've got woods bikes. I've got my compromise was that I bought an RV with a garage in it so that I could pull my family out there and they wouldn't complain about, being outdoors. They can just go inside and turn the TV on. But I've got my bikes and we'll go trail ride and I love all this stuff, man. And I'm just okay. So here's a rookie question for you. All right, you guys that travel with the CO2 tanks when you go off roading, I've always just taken like a Viair compressor. What's the advantage of the CO2 tank?
Oh, it's super fast. I've got the compressor on there too. Like I have like a little one that you plug into the 12 volt. But the CO2 tanks are fast.
So
and I've got 40-inch tires, so that's a lot.
So
it's
it's
a lot of
time.
air.
So yeah, okay. And where do you get those tanks refilled?
I have a friend that owns MJB Welding in town. They have
several. Yeah.
places.
Okay.
So,
and can you do all 4 tires in one tank if you're out
for like a week?
Okay, I need to get one.
Like air up and down for like a while. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I also have a backup like 15-gallon tank that's a little bit bigger.
You've got a big.
So if I was multi-week, I could.
You've got a big truck with a big truck bed. I've got an FJ with a little area in the back, and now I'm talking about like I've got to put that stuff on the roof to kind of
Yeah, I like it, the truck. If I were doing it myself, it wouldn't be nearly as huge. For one, I mean, there's a lot of fab work that Rockstar Garage did to make it so clean. Like that.
It's a good looking truck, man.
Because the whole point was to make this. I call it I call it absurdly functional.
Yeah. Look. If there's one guy that's earned sort of being able to drive a badass truck like that, I'm pretty sure it's you.
Yeah, thanks, but yeah, it's functional. Everything on there it's for a reason. Even just going mid travel instead of long travel was for a reason, because it actually drives pretty stock when you're just going around town or on the freeway and stuff.
Yeah,
those R1 brakes stop it just like a
Toyota's done a good job with
that.
Yep.
Fast.
I'm assuming they upgraded the rotors as well to oversize.
No, the rotors are bigger than a lot of people's wheels.
That's great.
That's why I was like, I wanted to go with 18-inch wheels, and the 40-inch tires. He's like, no, we need the 20 so we can fit the brake.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a big rig, man. It really is, especially with all the gear when you're weighted down. So,
yeah, that's
pretty amazing. So what's on your agenda for? I mean, how loaded are you up in your schedule? Do you do this like weekly? Do you have podcast or visit? Do you visit dealerships often, or how's that working for you?
Toyota every now and then would like me to do things, and they make it like so easy to do. And so Toyota's been, at this point, they've donated maybe $200,000 towards the fire efforts and between Red Cross and the California fire victims. They're always supportive, and they're always like very deferent to me. Like when they're like, oh, you got to be here. No, they like ask. Like even getting the old truck, they ask. Like everything is, and there been like there's people there that they're so kind, and like, it's just crazy because it's like this huge company, like this worldwide, like one of the top companies in the world, and they feel very human. Yeah,
that's great. I mean, it sounds like it's been a really great experience out of a pretty traumatic experience for you, and to be able to get to SEMA. And I mean, I didn't realize, I just assumed that Toyota was behind that. I mean, you got yourself there.
No, so it was actually Rockstar with partnership with Rockstar, but Spider Auto and K&N.
There is a Spider.
So the Spider now
he's got a question.
Now I'm seeing their logo on a lot of stuff. So it was on your windshield, I think. What do they do?
And that was their whole booth. The one that you were in.
Yeah, I knew you were either next to them or you were in their booth. So you're saying they paid for they paid for the eye candy?
Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
So what do they do?
Yeah, they'll no. If you're asking if they paid for me,
right.
No.
Well,
but they did get my truck. They did get my trucks there, and they had the other vehicles, the WRX and that classic truck. Spider Auto does aftermarket headlights and taillights.
Okay.
Right.
So.
And so they did all the lighting group for you up on the rigs, both.
They did all the headlights and taillights. The auxiliary lighting is all Baja Designs.
Now, here's a bigger question. Are their headlights and taillights fireproof?
I don't know. I would say they're almost high enough to be.
Well, let's not find out.
Yeah, let's don't go there.
I was never planning on testing all that out again.
Right, we didn't figure, but at least you're ready just in case. So
that's in once in a several lifetime type event, unless I become a firefighter.
Amen, brother. I'm going to give you just a second to throw out some, like, if you want to give out like a Twitter handle or whatever social media you want to give out.
Well, I mean, I've got a slight presence on Facebook. With the Pandra.
Throw out anything you want.
But really, I keep. Rockstar Garage, they've been amazing, and Toyota USA, but they've already got the Toyota's already got the fans they're going to get. But the Pandra, like the _Pandra on Instagram.
There you go. I don't know. I think Toyota's picking up some fans because of this. I mean, I get DMs and things all the time by people who bought Tundras because of me, or a Toyota because of what they read. I literally had, when I was coming back from Vegas, I was at this. I was in West Sacramento at this like hole in the wall Mexican place with my sister. I stopped by and saw my sister and her family. They met me there. Some guy comes running in and he's like, "Are you the Pandra?" And I'm wearing, at that point, I'm in my Rockstar uniform because I'd done a photo shoot with them that morning with this, I've got the star and the hat, star hat. And it's unavoidable. But he's like, and he was so sweet. He was such a sweet guy. And he's like, "I got a Tundra because of you. My wife's sitting in the car. She won't even come out, but I needed to see you," because he saw the truck parked in the parking lot there. And he came in and and yeah, he got it. There's so many people, 4 people I personally know, just in my circle, that got Tundras after that.
That's great. That's a great story. I have someone very close to me that we wanted to know about the SEMA show, and I discussed with him your story and told him that we were probably going to get you on the podcast, and he was one of those moments. "You're kidding me, man." So he knows all about you as well, and he's a Toyota guy. Yeah. So he's pretty pumped about that. So I'm sure you'll be tuning into this at some point.
Allyn, thank you for hanging with us. I gotta say, if you're not a movie star by the time I make it back out west again, we gotta go when you get some PTO built up, and we gotta go shoot a camping video or have some fun that doesn't require traumatic experiences, and have a beer, man, or something.
Yeah. As long as I can bring my friends,
yes,
I'm cool with that.
Absolutely. And you've probably got all the good spots, and that's a beautiful area of the country. So we've got. I'm just going to wrap it up here, Jay, unless you've got any more questions.
No, I'm good. I just wanted to say thanks to Allyn for being on our show today, and I am very we're privileged to have you with us today, and I'm happy that you're here to tell your story. It's an amazing story, and I really do hope that area comes out of that. I know it'll take a lot of time. So wishing you guys and your family all the best, and all of your coworkers, that everything comes back around for you. So, but we're always here for you. Anytime you want to come on and talk to us and update us, we would love to have you anytime. So just reach out.
And I'm going to pile on to this a little bit. So yeah, thank you for hanging out with us. Well, I think we just like hanging out with car guys more than anything. But a Toyota fan doesn't hurt.
I'm digging. Yeah. I saw the TRD hat.
Okay. Yeah, which I had a really good experience with. Kind of that same thing that you were talking about with the Toyota people. I've had some of those, and they are a very unique group as far as the automotive crowd goes. And I had a similar experience. Man, thanks for being you, Allyn. I just really mean that. I don't know how else to just legitimately say, thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for being you. We look forward to kind of following your story, and we'll ping you, and I hope to hang with you in person again. And, man, it's just been awesome. And I'm just glad that we got a little bit of time to kind of hear your story sort of in person here.
Yeah.
It works. I'm stoked you guys reached out and that I photobombed the picture.
With a photobomb like that, I had to meet the guy.
It's pretty awesome.
All right, so go ahead.
Let me give a few few things out. Yeah. So first of all, you guys can follow Allyn on at @the_Pandra on Instagram. You can follow us at the Parts Counter Gurus on Instagram. We're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Parts Counter Gurus. You can go to our website, partscountergurus.com. Up there, you'll see all the podcast links. Go up to our right-hand side of the page. Shop for that knife that Allyn has just spoken of. We're going to put a link up on our website for mentioned on the podcast. I'd like to thank Rockstar Garage for doing what they're doing for you. I'd also like to thank the guys at Bullet Liner. That's an awesome story. I love what they did. I felt the bed. I'm like, I got to know.
I wish I could have taken a shot of all the people feeling the truck as they walk by.
Yeah.
It was like a petting zoo.
I have a little bit of body work and painting experience in my background, and I felt like that must have been what it was, but I didn't get. You were busy, and I didn't get to talk to you about it. So now we know for sure. So it's a great idea. I think they should do it on. I've actually seen that finished a lot since the show. So you're
I'm
catching
totally
on,
getting
man.
it on my next truck.
And
Yeah.
Pretty sweet for scraping by the trees and seeing nothing happen.
Right. And I would also like to say a couple of other things. I'd like to say to Toyota, thank you for being awesome and doing this for Allyn. Allyn, you're a great human being. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
I'm keeping you guys just to hear this part.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate it.
I think you've earned
man.
it.
Leave with a
So,
smile.
right on. So, Keith, you got anything else?
I'm good. So let's see. That is Allyn over there. That is Jay even further over there. I'm Keith. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Cheers,
Thanks. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.